My Aura ring says my body is in a stress state like 90% of the time versus restorative. What are some beginning/newbie things I can do to see more restorative time and less stress/high cortisol? Work from home, mom of 2 little ones. We'll be diving into this and so much more in today's Q&A episode. Full disclosure, this is our 3rd time recording this podcast.
We're having some technical difficulties over here.
Very happy about it.
Josh is
in a really great mood.
He's coming off
sickness. It's been a great week.
He's a little angry. We're just going to dive right in, though. My response.
No small talk. Get right to it.
That is over.
Josh is like, let's talk about how we're all feeling, how we're doing. Skip it.
Fuck that.
I think when it comes to wearables and devices and anything that's tracking your data, you have to really take it with a grain of salt. And yeah, it's helpful information most of the time. And when you look at averages and how things fluctuate over time, sure, it's helpful. But at the same time, you don't want to let that fully dictate how you actually feel about yourself and your body in that moment. So I think the most important thing here, and I know personally when I focus on this aspect in Aura, I really try to just take more breaks in my workday. As a work from home mom of 2.5 almost, little people, it can be super stressful, and like there's a lot of moving parts. So when I take the time to, take a few deep breaths or read for a few minutes or like completely disengage from work, and if I can, like while the kids are napping, like from the kids, it definitely helps. And I notice I'll have a higher restorative time versus the days where I'm just like working straight through. Even at something as simple as like going and walking to the mailbox to get the mail in the middle of something versus just working for 5 hours nonstop has really helped me. So that's my personal take and advice. I think just if you break things up a little bit more and take that time for you, even if it's like 2 to 5 minutes at a time, that should help and should make a difference as far as overall stress goes. What else we got?
So I'm in a similar situation.
I was like, are we contributing to this question or are we going to the next question?
I feel like I gave my life story on the last take. I'm in the same spot. Like I have had one day that was not like high stress, limited restorative time. But the things that I've been focusing on the last few weeks, what I'm going to be kind of figuring out what works is the little sprinkles in throughout the day. So I'm going to do an extra meditation session. I'm probably not going to take a 3rd walk a day. We go in the morning, we go at night. We just don't have 4 hours a day to commit specifically to health and fitness stuff. So it's all about figuring out what your puzzle pieces are and where those puzzle pieces fit, what order, what shape, just organizing your day around those things and making sure they add value. Because if they're not adding value and you're feeling the difference, and on top of noticing, the difference on Aura, you're not going to keep doing it. So they have to be minimal, but they have to have a big impact. The one non-high stress day that was actually more restorative time was the day I actually fully unplugged from work, from my computer, from my phone, and was just actually with the kids. A lot of times, like especially work from home, there's no balance, like there's no line. So it's always like your brain's in 2 places. One's with work, one's with the kids. If you get 10 seconds from work, you're checking on the kids. If you're with the kids, you're waiting for them to kind of hit their stride with the independent play, and then you're checking the email, which leads into 5 other tasks. So I feel like that is just an instant, trigger. It pulls you into that stress that even though it doesn't feel like a huge lift, especially if you're used to the grind, it is on your body. You feel it. Might be subtly for some of you, but it's there. It's a strain. So being able to realize that and then organizing specific strategies throughout the day, but just when you can just be with the family, and if you need the alone time, when you can just be with yourself, like take advantage of it. And I think the biggest key, especially when you're talking about the Aura ratings, is that sprinkle factor throughout the day. They want to see that break where it's not just like Alessandra said, stress 5 hours straight for work. Take a minimal break, get up, take a short walk, do something, mindful breathing, meditation, read a book, a couple pages, sit down and just breathe and have a cup of tea, whatever it is for you, make it small. Like it could take a few minutes and it'll have an impact, but you got to be consistent and like just finding ways to be able to break up your day, which will enhance productivity anyway. That's been shown as well. So don't feel like you're losing time and you're always chasing the clock. It'll make it better. We're all guilty of it. We all need the reminder. So just figuring out which of those strategies are going to make the most sense for your setup.
All right. Tally asked us, what are each of your current goals this year or just for the near to medium term, forgetting the arbitrary 12-month calendar, could be health, fitness, business, life, etc. Who wants to go first?
Joel's got the face again. I always give her the mic when she's got the face.
I was thinking about it. I mean, first of all, it was nice for someone to just ask that question. And just a quick moment of reflection. For me, and I know I've talked about this a little bit, for health and fitness, I would love to put myself in a position to actually put on a little bit more weight. I'd like to put back some muscle that I lost after just a year of losing more weight than I would have liked due to just stressful seasons, low appetite, and all of that. I'd love to be not as lean as I am right now. I know that might not be such a common goal, but I don't like being as lean as I am right now. I don't feel great. Like things are achy, things hurt more. Like I don't like to be this lean. So current health and fitness goals for me are putting back on some weight, putting back on some muscle, and very much gaining some strength as well. I also have had some neck issues going on like the last year and a half, and some really frequent and debilitating headaches that correlate with that neck pain. So I am on like the 4th or 5th practitioner now of someone trying to fix my neck and my headaches. So definitely a huge goal to get that under control, because I think that will have many positive effects on my training and just life and fitness in general. Business goals, just to like casually build an empire and take over the world.
Casually.
On the side.
Super casually. Super casually.
Shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's totally attainable. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to say, this is a cool setup, and it actually relates to one of the last chapters I read in Beyond Entrepreneurship. So I'm going to blank on the names. Bill Lazier, James Collins, Jim Collins, and Bill Lazier, Lazier. Anyway, they kind of take this concept of vision and they break it into 3 main categories. So core values and beliefs, purpose, and mission. Core values and beliefs, obviously things you live by, and then those are the things that are ingrained like in whatever you're doing right now or for company-wise into your company. Purpose is your guiding star. So your purpose is never reached. It's this huge overarching theme that you're always striving for, but it literally cannot be reached. And you need to start with that, because that's going to kind of create your path. Whereas mission is the specific battle that you're in right now, the mission that you're on, the specific thing that you want to complete. So it's kind of a higher level view of thinking about goals versus like, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to gain 5 pounds of muscle. I want to do X, Y, or Z. Those are your missions. But if you can take that and then stack on top your purpose, like with a bigger why, and then your core values and beliefs, like how is this going to make your life better? I think you have the antidote for loss of motivation, because you're always wondering, or we get the question a lot, how do you get through this phase without motivation? And it's because you have a deeper purpose. So understanding what that purpose is. So our driving factor, our purpose with our business, with the merge, with Project B, is to change the world. We want to make the world a happy, healthy place. That's the purpose. That's the thing that maybe we never achieve, but we're going to continue to strive for it. And each mission is with that objective, to make the world a happy, healthy place. The mission that we are on right now, and as we've mentioned before, the merger was our small announcement. I know everyone's coming out with these fun announcement videos now. Like the trend has been set and everybody's doing it. It's super cool. We're all doing it.
Merging all of a sudden.
We're all merging, baby. That was the mini announcement. We're going to drop a bomb.
Thank God, nothing. Yeah.
We're going to be dropping the bomb hopefully sometime in Q1 here this year. which is Project B. And that is how we will make the world a happy, healthy place. So our current mission, I don't even want to say medium, hopefully I want to say a near-term goal, is getting that live, the first version live. That won't be the final version. There will be a V1 that is acceptable to get out to you guys. When I say acceptable, it's going to be better than anything that you have now, but it's not our,
We
it's
have
not
very high standards.
Yeah.
We've gone, like, we're going on tangents. This is already going to be a long episode, but we have done the path of accepting less than optimal in life, in business, making compromises, and that's just, it's not going to happen anymore. It's just
Not a fan.
It's not a fan of it. Didn't work out well in any of the situations. We were recently told, if you can dream it, I can build it. And we are going to carry out, we are running with that as facts. That is our faith. If we can dream it, it will be built. And anything we can dream of to give you guys the tools to not just live happy, healthy lives, but to make it easy, to just be able to build these things in and figure out what's working best for you. So that is the compass for Project B. That is going to be the huge announcement that comes out hopefully pretty soon. I'm
going to call it that Project B is going to come out within days of this baby coming out of my body, just because that's how the world works. And we're going to be overwhelmed.
Well, it might be ready at that point, but we also have the power to choose our own launch date. So we can somewhat structure.
I just feel like it's going to be aligned around the same time.
I have to add a funny side note, Josh, because yesterday I was on a call with one of our coaches, and the coach said to me, when Josh says that, like, he wants to change the world, is he being serious? I'm like, oh, no, he's dead serious. He's 100% serious. And it was such a good tie-in for what you're talking about here, because it's like, yeah, Josh is a little bit of a dreamer, which is great, because not that Alessandra and I are not, but one of us in the group needs to be the one who is like head in the clouds, 30,000 foot overview. And Josh is that person for the three of us. He is the ultimate dreamer. And it was just funny that a coach brought it to me and was like, is he real? Like, is he serious? I'm like, no, he's really serious. Like, that really is the goal, like, to change the world that we live in, make the world a happier, healthier place, change the world.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. And so it was cool that one of the coaches was like picked up on that from you. And I was like, no, he's serious. Yeah.
Not messing around. It's actually a thing. No, that's I have plans and ideas that I can't even talk to these guys about, because I'm like, like, they know where I'm at, but I can't even bring these to the table yet, because it's just going to be a waste of a conversation right now. I'm going to get it thrown back, and yeah. I'm like, we're not at this phase. This is like, hey guys, let's talk about something like 10 years from now real quick. I would like to do this in 10 years. But that's how my brain works. It's where are we going and how does this path get us to that point? But anyway, I thought that was cool. You guys could take it in whatever space works for you in regards to, purpose. I'm sorry, mission. Still fucking it up. Your core values and beliefs, your purpose, and then your specific mission. If you can break it down like that with your goals as specific missions, but within that framework, you're going to go a lot farther.
So that was your business.
That was my business. And that's all we've been thinking about. Like, we've been living and breathing this thing. I mean, me personally anyway, but I'd like to put weight. I probably lost 15 pounds this week. But I was doing well as far as staying lean and putting muscle on. That was the next longer term goal, was getting back to that, being comfortable not taking steroids. That's like the goal. Like, I don't need it. Getting back to that headspace. I'm back to needing it after looking at myself today. Not eating for 5 days.
You don't need it, Josh.
No.
It's like SpongeBob and water when he's at Sandy's dome. I don't need it. I need it. That's me.
Yeah, I would say my goals this year, obviously I'm re-entering the early postpartum phase, is to have a baby, step one. But just looking forward to the rebuild postpartum. First strength, then running again. I'll be excited. Like, I feel like my timeline here is great as far as running goes, because I'll be re-entering running like end of spring, probably summer, which is always much more enjoyable than entering it in the winter, in my opinion. But yeah, just the rebuild of strength, runs, balancing 3 children. It's going to be good.
I want to add a quick life goal because I realized that business, health, fitness, life was also in there. Life goal that I have quickly is I would love to be on my phone a little bit less, and have. Look, we're all 3 of us are in a season of just crazy work season right now, and likely will be for the foreseeable future. But I used to be a lot better about like work hours being work hours and time with my kids being time with my kids. And I never used to let those really cross into each other. I know it's probably a little bit more difficult for you guys because you're all in all the time at home with all the things. But we obviously pay a lot of money for childcare so that I can be fully in work mode when it's work time and fully in mom mode when it's mom time. And the last several months have definitely been a lot more overlap and like my kids having more screen time because I'm going back to my laptop to finish work. And I'd love to get back to, I don't even know if I'd call it better, like maybe it is better like work-life boundaries, but just I find I'm not as present with my kids as I would like to be because I'm like checking my phone, going back and checking emails, getting back to like work things when I'm with my kids. And I never used to do that. You should just be like, when I'm on mom mode, I'm in mom mode. So brief little life goal that I'd love to work on this year.
I dig it.
All right, let's keep cruising. How important is meal timing beyond the general guidelines? I've always tended to break total macros into 5 to 6 well-balanced meals or snacks, but wondering if I need to focus more on the ratios surrounding my training.
I'm going to jump in first because I've become very anti-snack probably this year. And I grew up like in my bro mode bulk days, like eating every 2 hours, like boom, alarm goes off, massive meal. Like I was eating 5,000 calories a day at my peak and I felt horrible. My gastrointestinal health was absurdly bad. And it probably was a part of leading to Barrett's during that time. But when you are building in these quote unquote snacks, you're not maximizing, your nutrient consumption and all the muscle protein synthesis, yada, yada. It might be a handful of nuts and a piece of fruit. But when you take that period to eat in between these meals, you're not allowing enough space between actual consumption of calories. So this is whether it's a nice coffee filled with a bunch of stuff from Starbucks, a handful of nuts, or a full-blown meal. Doesn't matter, like any amount of food. You want to have a space of at least 3 hours. 3 to 4.5 hours is a good space, a good time frame that allows your body to go through this stomach sweeping mechanism, remove some dead cells, prevents things like SIBO. But if we're worried about, okay, I got breakfast and then I'm having a little snack a couple hours later and then I'll have lunch, and then, maybe it's not broken up perfectly evenly, or, in this case, it's 5 to 6 well-balanced meals or snacks. I'm assuming this 5 or 6 is eating sessions. Those aren't actually full meals because she included snacks in there. So I would, if it's 3, if it's 4, like in that range, and you can spread those out 3 hours between each one, like that's perfect. And then just the simple way to do it is divide your macros evenly. If you feel that you're not performing your best, or you don't feel your best, like you can play with macros, keep protein even, and then play with carbs and fats for each meal. But like the past year or so, I'd say I've been very anti-snack between meals. Like get the most out of it, eat a real meal, but give yourself 3 hours at least between them.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did
I would
that.
agree with that.
And I would add on the meal timing around training, like it might make a difference depending on what you're doing. Like if it's a basic strength workout that lasts 45 minutes, it's not going to be a huge deal. If you're eating like a higher carb meal or like 20 grams more of carbs before, I would say the only time it might make more of a difference is if you're doing like a longer endurance session. Like if you're going out for a 10-mile run, yeah, you probably want to eat some more carbs beforehand. So it definitely depends, but it's not something you need to like hyper focus on, in my opinion. All right. How much and when should you adjust macros after your initial calculation if you are seeing weight gain or no movement on the scale? What other factors should you consider? Take it away,
Great question.
Joelle.
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to macro adjustments, it sounds like you are seeing weight gain or no movement. And I'm assuming here that your potential goal is weight loss. And so perhaps you're maintaining or even seeing weight gain. I like to see, and other factors. So typically I like to see 2 to 4 weeks minimum of some pretty solid consistency. And when I'm talking about consistency, I'm talking about executing on whatever you've decided your plan is going to be, whatever your macros are going to be, however much cardio you're doing, however much exercise you're doing as a whole, being 90+% consistent with that, 90 to 95% consistent with whatever those metrics are. I would also want to make sure that we are doing daily weighing and not just weighing in once a week, because that is another potential thing to consider. If we are, let's say, 150 pounds and you are weighing in once a week. And so, Sunday is your weigh-in day, you're 150 when you started, and then the following Sunday you're 151 and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I've gained a pound. I must be in a surplus. But for all you know, you hit a new scale low 2 days prior, but you hadn't hopped on the scale at that point. And scale fluctuations happen. You're always going to fluctuate 2, 3, even more pounds, depending on a series of things, how you slept, what your stress levels look like, water retention, where you are in your cycle, and so on. So step one is knowing, did we actually gain weight, or is this just a scale fluctuation? But then the other consideration there is making sure that we are as consistent with whatever those metrics are or protocols are that we're trying to hit before we potentially adjust something. If it ends up being that you are weighing daily and now you are consistently gaining weight or maintaining your weight, then it's very possible you're just not actually in a deficit. And so we've talked about this in some previous episodes, but maintenance is a range. And so it's possible to maintain your weight, through a range of several hundred calories. So maybe, you thought your maintenance was around 2,300 calories. And so you drop to 2,000 calories and you're not really seeing that loss yet. It's possible that 2,000 calories is still sort of in your maintenance range. So you might have to make another adjustment from there. And it could just be another 100 to 200 calories. I don't think that you need to make any super, super steep decreases. You just essentially want to get yourself to right outside of that maintenance range, and keep calories as high as you can for as long as you can.
Yeah, I think that's a very common struggle when you're doing your own macros, is that you want to change things way too much too soon, when in reality, it probably won't hurt you to wait it out another couple of weeks just to make sure things are indeed stagnant or trending in the wrong direction. But I just wanted to throw that in there, as that's something we see a lot. It's hard to be objective with yourself sometimes, so really rely on that data. Make sure you're also factoring those other aspects of biofeedback, but overall adherence and consistency is so important. And if you're not keeping tabs on that or tracking regularly, then that's definitely step one.
And to give you guys numbers for 90 to 95% adherent, because a lot of people will say, oh, I am. That's me. You're probably not. It's plus or minus 10 grams of protein and carbs, plus or minus 5 grams of fats, from your targets, 7 days a week. When you have a specific goal, the weekends you're not taking off. You are diving into this until you attain that goal. A lot of times, even if you're perfect, you're on point, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 10, 6 out of 7 days. That one day, if you go into a barbecue and you're just enjoying yourself, going to a party, or you just cheat day, meal out, whatever it is, you can take yourself out of that entire week deficit. It's not difficult to do, especially if you're drinking alcohol. You can completely remove that deficit in one day. Wonder why you're perfect 6 days a week. You enjoy yourself one day. Why am I not seeing progress? Well, that's why. So you need to be dialed in. Those are the parameters, and it's every single day until you reach your goal. Otherwise, it's, you can live your life. Just don't be upset that you're not moving forward. Don't be upset that you're not progressing towards this goal. Keep realistic expectations as far as how flexible you want to be and what that time frame is for achieving your goals. Those two things have to be aligned. If they're not, you're just going to get frustrated. So just be aware.
Yeah, you have to be honest with yourself about like, have I really been ultra consistent these last 2 to 4 weeks to that, a 5 to 10 gram discrepancy from what my protocols are supposed to be. And I'm still seeing either maintenance of my weight or, gaining of weight, then yeah, something could very well be adjusted. But you have to be able to be objective, which can be really hard. And is obviously the benefit of having a coach to look over that data. And, it's not uncommon that someone might say like, hey, the scale's not going down yet. Can we bring calories lower? And a coach on our team might turn around and say like, we haven't really actually been where we've needed to be to know if these numbers are working yet, because we have to be more consistent with the current protocols to know if they're actually working or not working. We don't want to slash calories down further if these calories and macros are actually a great fit. We just haven't hit them yet. So just, yeah, another consideration there.
All great points. Chelsea asked us, I've dealt with health issues the last 3 months, and I'm finally ready to get back into some movement. I lost 18 pounds unintentionally as an already small-framed person, lost muscle, dealing with fatigue. What do you recommend to get my body and muscles back into a good routine?
Food.
You have to eat more. Be intentional with your food. Set alarms if you have to. Like it's probably going to take a little more work to consume more food right now, and it's going to feel like a lot of food. You're going to feel full probably most of the time. But if you can stay on top of the food intake, that's like the most important thing.
This also might be an unpopular opinion, but when someone does need to gain weight, especially after like unintentional weight loss, and I know even for myself this is true, especially with not having a super great appetite, sometimes I do have to shoot for the less nutrient dense, hypercaloric things for the sake of just getting the calories in. Obviously still focusing mainly on a super nutrient dense diet, but there are times where, I'm just shooting for the hypercaloric thing because it's the most palatable and it's going to be the easiest thing for me to get down without feeling stuffed or, not having a super high appetite. The things that are hyper palatable sometimes are very calorically dense, not as nutrient dense, but in like a weight gain season, sometimes that could be a helpful tool. You could only eat so much chicken and broccoli.
That's true. Jody said, nutrition advice for an adult with ADHD who is taking Adderall and has very little hunger during the morning and afternoon. The hunger usually starts to come back in the evening. Most of my calories come from dinner through nighttime. Any advice here? That's rough because, I can understand like a medication totally like shutting down hunger, but I would honestly try to do your best. Even if you like make a jam-packed higher calorie smoothie, like something you can sip on, even if you're not necessarily hungry, like just getting those calories in an easy way is probably my first piece of advice. Yeah, it might be a situation where you kind of just have to know you're not going to be hungry and eat anyway.
Yeah, I think it goes right back to what Joelle was talking about, and that's a good remedy. You create liquid calories. So throw as many calories as you can in there. Do a couple scoops of protein, maybe some peanut butter, some berries, get your nutrients in there.
You used to like dry blend oats.
Yep.
And then you would add in all of the other things just so you would get like a high carb smoothie. And yeah, I think that's a genius idea too, because it turns into like a powder and then you can you're basically drinking your oats. So
that was over 1,000 calorie shake that I would drink once a day.
Ugh. Yep. Yeah, Brant and I have both done that where a lot of times liquid calories are a lot easier to get in. And so if you could throw in some scoops of protein and you could add other, caloric things in there, whether it's peanut butter or chia seeds, making things just more caloric. But that'll be easy to get down in terms of volume. Liquid calories can be great in that scenario. It's kind of funny because it's you think about the opposite of like when someone is in a deficit, like normally in a deficit, you'd be like, try not to have any liquid calories, like stick with water, stick for really nutrient dense, high volume foods. And then when someone wants to gain weight or someone's really struggling with appetite, you kind of go the opposite route. You're like, you might need more hypercaloric foods and less volume and more liquid calories. So, yeah, it's always interesting when you're kind of giving like the opposite of the standard advice.
Jody asked a part two. We'll come back to your second question if we get through everyone else's first. I'm going to move on to another one. So Kelsey said, I also saw Joelle post to her stories, but any tips for that late luteal phase and insomnia, feeling like crap, definitely doing it tired during that week. But have you found any success with things like seed cycling, etc.? Didn't we both have dabbled in, did you do seed cycling?
Yeah, like when I was missing my period for a while.
Yeah.
Dabbled in it.
The interesting thing about the interesting thing about seed cycling is it's only going to make a difference in someone who's already not eating enough calories and fats specifically. Right. It's just like a ball of fat pretty much. So you can eat any high fat foods and basically see the same exact progress that seed cycling would give you. But you deal with this more than I do, Joelle.
Yeah, this is honestly, it's new territory for me. I had once I got my cycles back, I had very normal cycles for about a year with very little symptoms. And then I only had one period between baby one and baby two. So it's really been postpartum with baby two that I've noticed some differences in like just more prevalent differences between follicular phase and luteal phase. And I definitely, those few days leading up to my period, I have insomnia. I'm up at like 2 a.m, just wide awake, wide eyed, restless all night, just kind of like tossing, turning all night. And then I'm just like, when is it going to be here? Like, I'm like hoping to get it. Like, oh, it's still not here. Cause as soon as it comes, I start to sleep better. So I don't have this is, like I said, new territory for me. So I don't have a ton of helpful tools. I also am definitely just doing it tired during, that kind of late luteal phase. And
doesn't wearing the new merch help? Don't you feel like part of a community and you're inspired?
It'll help. The new merch will help for sure. Okay. I regularly use magnesium, and I would suggest that if you're not using magnesium, that could be a really helpful supplement for you. I, at this point, don't notice a difference, but I'm already using it. And I've been using it regularly for years. But if you are not using magnesium, I would say you might find that to be potentially helpful. A lot of people do find that helpful in terms of just sort of PMS symptoms. And it can be relaxing. It can help with sleep. So I would say potentially magnesium.
I would also throw in there that in the past, I've worked with clients who, in their luteal phase, they need a few hundred more calories during that phase, which isn't uncommon either. So it might be something where you add in like 200 to 300 to 400 extra calories for that part of your cycle, just to see if it helps with anything. I mean, it's worth a shot. I know I've definitely have had clients who didn't necessarily struggle with insomnia, but they would just feel really fatigued and like crappy. And then we would bump calories up a little bit and they would feel a little bit better. So just worth a shot. Yeah. Cheyenne said, what are some good ways for someone who's a picky eater to get the majority of their protein? They eat mostly like a vegan, love salmon, but they don't like dairy products like milk or yogurt.
Do you eat eggs?
They didn't say anything about eggs.
It just says mostly.
I know, but mostly vegan, but you're having fish.
Right.
Look, I always think a really convenient and easy way to get in more protein is to just have a protein powder on hand that you like. Obviously, you don't want multiple meals to necessarily be coming from a protein powder, but, I mean, I have a protein shake every day, whether it's 1 scoop or 2 scoops. I'm always having usually a scoop of whey on the daily just because it's one more easy way to get protein in, super convenient and good cost per portion ratio. compared to, just buying oodles and oodles and oodles of salmon. I don't know if there's other fish that you like or that you'd be open to eating, but fish in general is typically a great source of protein.
I would say
So
just
I would lean
the
on
things that you
those.
eat, like increase the serving sizes of those things. Like you don't have to cap each meal at like 20, 25 grams of protein. Like if you can get in, like I ate a huge piece of salmon for dinner the other night and it was like almost 40 grams of protein. So make your serving sizes of the protein that you're already consuming bigger. And if you have a list of the protein sources that you do like just, you can eat those multiple times per day too. Like I know a lot of people say, well, I don't know what to eat for breakfast. I don't like eggs. I don't like typical breakfast foods that are high protein. You can eat a piece of chicken breast for breakfast if you want. So kind
Weirdos.
of let go of the food rules or like the common food. I guess it's a rule that we have, and you can eat whatever you want whenever you want because you are an adult. So
I would
don't know.
also say another little hack is to look for protein in your carb and fat sources as well. So, if we're talking about a smoothie, and you're looking to add a fat source to that smoothie, maybe you're shooting for a fat source that also happens to be high protein. Something like chia seeds is like 10 grams of protein per serving. Beans are going to be a great carbohydrate source, great fiber source, but also a pretty high protein source for a high amount of protein considering that it's a carbohydrate source. You could shoot for more of the high protein pastas. So I would say looking for higher trace amounts of protein in your carb and fat sources can also be like that can add up, whether it's the Dave's Killer Bread, like that's another 5 grams of protein per slice of bread that you otherwise might not be getting. So if you could add, 10 grams of protein from your toast with your, breakfast in the morning or whatever, that's another little hack, I would say.
Yeah, it's finding the right combos. I have 5 eggs, 3 pieces of that strong mill bread, and then a banana. And from the eggs and the bread, that's 50 grams of protein. 15 grams specifically from the toast. So you have plenty to work with when it comes to the mostly vegan. If you went with, a protein shake for one, salmon for another, and then tofu for the third, you can get that in a high enough portion size where you're good for the day. On top of the carbs and the rice and the toast, whatever you're eating with that, you'll get there.
Any experience with SSRIs or antidepressants in weight loss or muscle gain? I'm finding it more difficult to lose weight, and I wasn't sure if anyone else had experiences or tips. I'm in therapy, also just too scared to get fully off the meds yet. Thoughts?
I've definitely heard clients talk about this in the past. I'm not sure if there's something, I would have to look into this more, if there is something physiologically different, metabolically when using something like an SSRI, or an antidepressant. What I am most familiar with clients experiencing is that when they are taking a specific medication, their mood does change, their appetite does change, their social outings might change, their appetite, hunger, satiety might change. And so generally speaking, when we see weight loss or weight gain, when it is even related to a medication, usually it's not necessarily that the medication is inherently causing weight gain or muscle loss. It could potentially be that because we are taking a medication that is affecting our mental health, our emotional state, our hunger, satiety, cravings, social life, etc., it's possible that that is then impacting what we're eating more or less, if we're showing up to exercise more or less, and so on.
So I know a big part of this is simply, like you said, is due to the appetite changes, due to the mood changes. So our relationship with food during this time. There are some that have been shown to potentially slow down metabolism a bit over time. So I don't know that that's going to be a heavy factor. If it's just a slight change, I have not looked majorly into that. It could be a minor component, it sounds like. But I would definitely say predominantly it's going to be just your specific appetite, your mood, your relationship with food. Obviously, like when we feel different, we eat differently. So being aware of that, it might be a good idea to utilize tracking for a week, kind of set that baseline, and then realize this staple of foods, I usually get pretty close to where I want to be. So it doesn't have to be a total lifestyle overhaul to fix. You just have to be a bit more creative, kind of be aware of what the situation is, and then utilize certain tools for however long you feel comfortable, a la tracking, utilizing an app, and just allowing yourself to kind of rebalance at that baseline.
All right, you guys, we've had a heck of a day recording this episode. So we're going to save the rest of the questions for next week if we did not get to yours yet. We've had just lots of tech issues, and we're just going to leave it there today for everyone's mental health.
For our mental health
before the
and
merger
for the
becomes before the merger becomes a company breakup.
So we will post another thread for sure for next week if you missed this one. But if you did not get your question answered, know that it is coming, and we appreciate you guys. Do you want to say your spiel?
What's my spiel?
You haven't said it in a while about the reviews.
We didn't want to say it for you on Monday.
3-episode rule. 3-episode rule, guys. If you are listening beyond that 3rd episode, we just ask that you leave us a quick 5-star review. If you want to write something, that's cool. If you don't, awesome. But basically, we put these out for free. We want to change the world. That's not something we just say. It's something we live by. And if you found value, which you probably did if you're listening continuously and you're beyond those 3 episodes, then sharing it, leaving a review allows someone else to find it and utilize a free tool to improve their lives. So this little minor act creates a much, much larger ripple effect, and that can be your role in the community, just allowing this to reach one more person, and then the next, and then the next. So this is not a request. We're not monetized. It's not a request for building our audience for monetary purposes. Again, this is one of the free resources we provide. We put a lot of time into this, and we appreciate you guys for being here, and we want to grow this damn thing to the moon. So everything we do, you guys hear first. Hear first. Anyway, like she said, it's been this is one of our shorter episodes, and it was the longest one to record.
We've been at this for 2 hours, and it's a half-an-hour episode.
Yeah. So we'll catch you guys in the next one. Where can they find you?
I'm at Alessandra Skutnik.
At Joelle Samantha.
At Josh Skutnik.
Everything else you need is linked in the show notes.